when we've sat down, I'll start talking to you. All right. Now, I love going to see your Edinburgh shows, and they've always got like a story going through them. But the last one, Extreme Anti-White Vitriol, it was called. It came off the back of you having a sort of tangle on a radio phone-in with a BNP guy, wasn't it? And so many of your shows, they seem to come off the back of quite problematic situations. If something bad happens to you, do you think, oh, great, I'll get a story out of this?
Not immediately, no. I'm not quite as cynical as that.
Suddenly, a call out of the blue, a researcher for the Jeremy Vine show on Radio 2, and they wanted me to take part in this debate. Now that the British National Party are accepting people of different ethnic origins, would I like to join the party? Well, guess what, folks? I knew the answer to the question. And so I said, yeah, I'll take part in your debate. And they said, thanks, Paul. You will be appearing with the Deputy Leader of the British National Party, Mr. Simon Darby. Shat myself, realised this was my fault, so I'd been telling anybody who would listen, you have to talk to the BNP. You can't just chuck eggs at them. They've got 2 seats in the European Parliament. And I know that, because the day after it happened, I logged onto their website and they had announced a celebration disco. That's right, disco. A party who are anti-black and anti-gay had the cheek to organise a disco. By the time you have removed every record made, influenced, written or performed by black people or gay people, that is the world's shittest disco you're left with. That is fundamentally a barn dance, in essence. But anyway, the point is, though, I've always said that people must talk to the BNP, but by people, I meant other people. I didn't mean me.
You talk about the world as seen by a gay Hindu ex-GP, you know, on the circuit and things that have happened to you. What's the difference between those kind of shows and what you have to do if you're doing 20 minutes in clubs? Can you do the same kind of thing?
Well, the 20-minute set in a club does actually contain bits and pieces that basically found their life in an Edinburgh show.
Right.
But it's the catchiest, most direct jokes. I think the big difference with a 1-hour show is you can actually spend 2 or 3 minutes without a laugh.
Yeah.
Deliberately.
Yeah.
Because you're actually saying something important or serious, and the audience will let you get away with it. You do that in a 20-minute set, and they'll start getting very impatient, and quite rightly.
But increasingly, comedians are being used as a cheap substitute for politicians. I keep getting asked to do stuff that I'm totally out of my depth for. A couple of years ago, I was sat next to David Miliband on a Sunday morning in the studio in Radio 5 when I turned to him and said, Mr Miliband, run for leader. The Labour Party are sleepwalking their way to electoral catastrophe. Sounded amazing. I'd rehearsed it 15 times in the mirror. But if David Miliband just once had turned to me and said, really, Paul, why'd you say that? I would have said, haven't got a fucking clue, mate. I've really not done the research. My political opinion's a mixture of pub banter and other people's Facebook status updates. I really don't have anything to back this up. But I said I'd take part, so I was going to honour my commitment. And it's an odd one. Neither me nor Simon Darby are in the studio. I'm sat in bed at home, Simon Darby's sat in his home, Jeremy Vine is in the studio. I get first go, so Paul, would you like to join the BNP? And I said no, and I breathed a huge sigh of relief. And then Simon Darby has his go, in which he exclaims, of course, we'd be delighted to accept people of a different ethnic origin. We're not a racist party. And he repeated it, we're not a racist party. I had to say something, and so I did. I said, well, you are a racist party. You're just not open about it anymore. And he said, don't know who you are. You're meant to be a comedian. You haven't told a single joke yet. Now, 2 things crossed my mind at this point. Number 1, this is serious. I shouldn't be naked. And number 2... how weird is this? He was actually expecting me to simply come on the radio and tell a series of pub jokes. An Englishman, an Englishman and an Englishman walk into a pub. That kind of thing. How many BNP members did it take to change a light bulb? None. They're terrified of change. I think that was the kind of thing he was expecting from me on the radio. My wife's gone to the West Indies. Jamaica, well, we didn't make her exactly. We offered her £20,000 as a form of financially assisted voluntary repatriation. I think that was the kind of thing... Thanks for that. That was my favourite. I think that was the kind of thing... he was expecting from me. He wasn't expecting me to actually express an opinion. And when I said, I'm only expressing an opinion, he said, you're not. You're expressing extreme anti-white vitriol. Ouch. A racist called me a racist. In many ways, the proudest moment of my life.
Did I read you were on with Jim Davidson somewhere recently, or...?
I wasn't on with Jim Davidson.
Right.
It was an odd thing. I was doing the Cutting Edge show, the topical comedy show at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And Jim Davidson came into the audience.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
If you're on stage, your eyes are kind of trying to look at Jim Davidson and see whether he's finding any of it funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And having found the whole show funny and having come and chat to us all afterwards and tell us all that he found the whole show funny, he then proceeded to blog about the whole thing, where he called us, and in inverted commas, a bunch of jealous socialist wankers, and described me as an Indian puff.
An Indian puff?
An Indian puff.
Have you realised what a good title that is for a show yet?
Believe me. Believe me, I have.
But anybody who thinks that I am anti-white has clearly never seen my porn collection. Of the 716 videos on my computer of men having sex with men, 50% of those men are white and the other 50% are me. There's no possible way you could accuse me of being anti-white. And it got me thinking, my God, is this what the nation's become? A nation where a party of thugs and Holocaust deniers represent the viewpoint of so many people? Well, guess what? I needn't have worried. Last year, general election, the BNP got battered. The same month, that woman with the dancing dog in the final of Britain's Got Talent polled 4 times as many votes as the British National Party nationwide. Now, admittedly, I've just made that fact up, but nevertheless, it expresses how I feel about the things. The vast majority of this country is still holding on to the idea of being a decent, tolerant nation. There will always be idiots out there. I don't know if we have football fans in, but like any England fan, when Germany scored that 4th goal in the World Cup last year, I was devastated until I saw the camera pan to 2 England fans dressed as RAF World War II fighter pilots, at which point I thought, oh, do you know what? Whatever scoreline makes those 2 pricks unhappy is perfectly OK with me. How dysfunctional do you have to be to get World Cup tickets and go, I know what we'll do. We'll glory in a war that we took no part in whatsoever. If America had played Japan, would American fans have turned up dressed as a giant mushroom cloud? Do you know what? I'm pretty certain they wouldn't. In all the years that Greece had played Turkey, not once have 1,000 Greek fans sneaked into the stadium using a giant wooden horse. I'm absolutely certain about that. We are, in essence, a decent, tolerant nation. The tabloids won't have it that way, and that's why they're always telling us this is broken Britain, broken Britain, broken Britain. Fuck that. We're broke. It's not the same thing. If this is such a broken country, how come every year people are desperate to become British? It is not just asylum seekers, it is every South African cricketer cruelly ignored by their own selectors, for which we are very, very grateful. And on the subject of gratitude, thank you very much for listening. I've been Paul Sinha. Thank you.